G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Derriere Farms with me, Farmer Jay. Today we're going to be taking a look at the technical side again of Farming Simulator 22 and asking the age-old question of how does a game know how much to charge you or how much to pay you for your products? For those of you that don't care for the inner mechanics of the game and just want a quick answer, skip ahead to the conclusion. But for the rest of you, stay tuned. It's actually quite fascinating. And I remember in previous versions of Farming Simulator, a lot of us tried to figure out where the price fluctuations were coming from. Now, agreed, they were daily price fluctuations. They weren't seasonal price fluctuations like they are in Farming Simulator 22. And I remember looking at a couple of mods, and the prices were set. I think the technical line read something like price scale factor 1, 2, 3, or 0.5. But nobody knew what that actual base point was that they were developing that 0.5 or that 2 or that 1 from. It took a little bit of time, but I've got it figured out in Farming Simulator 22. I am probably going to break this video down into two parts. The first part, as I said, we will look at exactly what I talked about. How does the game figure out what to pay you and what to charge you for product? And in part 2, we will look at the secondary factor, which it's a little bit more complicated, and that's why I'm going to break it down into two parts. Because you have the base game and then you have additional factors, which play a big variable, quite honestly, and that's why you find with the game, and this is what got me looking at it, was you find with the game. Let me bring up the price chart. Here we have the seasonal fluctuations, and I'm going to look at wheat and barley as the main ones, just to give the best example. Right now, my seasonal fluctuations say that the best time for me to sell my wheat and my barley, based on the historical trend, is going to be December, not January. And I looked at one of my old spreadsheets, and it said January. I also looked up some information in the forums, and when the game first came out, and people were looking at the fluctuations chart, and it was pretty much a similar conclusion. January was the best time, December was the second best time. But as you can see right now, based on this chart, December is going to be the best time, and then there will be well, I'm not going to say a significant drop, but there will be a drop in January. Corn, on the other hand, well, it's even more interesting. My old spreadsheet said December was the best price for corn, just like it was for wheat and barley. And let me just double check. July was the second best. But we're looking at this chart again, and it says, well, June is the best time to sell my corn, and is December? No, January is the second best time. With December being a very close third, which kind of flies in the face of the initial findings. I'm glad I actually didn't publish that video. Never got around to it, because it would prove me wrong now. Anyway, before we take a look in the store at a couple of products, I know there are going to be people, or most of you will assume, like I do, it all boils down to difficulty levels. Now, I usually make these videos on easy difficulty, just so that new players can follow along just like everybody else. But I fired up the game a couple of times in hard mode, and I fired up the game a couple of times in medium as well as easy. And difficulty level only affects certain things. For the most part, it only affects what you get paid, not what you pay for product. I'll give you an example. Wheat. In easy mode, 3 brand new games, I averaged it out, and I was getting paid $825 per 1,000 liters of wheat in September. Is September the month the game starts? I forget, sorry. Yeah, September. Medium was 500 to 530, and hard mode was a measly $300 per 1,000 liters. So, let's go back to the store. So I was curious, and I was looking at the pallet prices. Seeds. Because if any of you watched the seed video, I used the same seed costs as Pharmacop did when he did his video on what it costs to produce, or what seeds are worth, or what you would have paid for seed, I should say, had you purchased it versus making your own. And the funny thing is, I thought there was going to be a big price fluctuation. Well, no, it turns out seeds are $900. This is for the big bag pallet. $900 both on easy, medium, and hard mode. The same for solid fertilizer, same for pig food. Same with big bags, and the same with pallets. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. The only thing that really changed were prices for something like, and they didn't change hugely either, but for buying bales in the store. It's definitely massively more expensive than making your own bales, so I don't understand why anyone would even want to buy bales from the store, but that's not the point. So I was like, okay, so where are these prices coming from? And part of my curiosity is I've been looking at mods, and more specifically, why certain mods have such a high payout versus other mods. The Donut Factory pays out the same as cake, and I hate to call it a donut factory because it's a pretzel factory, or they look like pretzels to me. That is, unless you download the other Donut Factory, which have boxes of donuts instead of individual donuts. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. But first, a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess, is that the right word? I have been dabbling a little bit in making my own mods, and I wanted to know how you set fair prices. And in order to do that, I wanted to know where the prices come from. I didn't want to just throw in a random value and say, okay, a box of pretzels is worth more than cake is and uses less ingredients. I want to try and keep it fairly balanced. Whether I release those mods or not will depend entirely on how well I can figure out the graphic side of things. Pretty much got the pricing side down now. Based on the fact that pallet prices are inelastic, that is, they stay the same regardless of the difficulty level, I decided to go a little bit further and work from there. So I opened up one of the mods. Again, we'll use the donut factory as an example. And nope, the XML file that creates the donut pallet only sets the quantity and the mass for the amount of donuts in that pallet. And the weight, well, mass weight, same thing. Working from there and still a little bit confused, I looked at the fill types XML. And that was where things got a little bit more interesting. That was where the game defines what the new product is, i.e. you tell it you want to create donuts as a product category. And then you set the price scale. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. The donut or bagel XML told me that it had an economy price per liter of 2.0. 2.0 being the base price the game would charge and or would pay for donuts. And then it goes into the various factors like factor period 1 through 12, which are the price fluctuations per month. This being how much the price varies per month throughout the year. And the price for donuts varied anywhere from 0.9 all the way up to 1.08. So obviously there was a correlation between a price factor of 2 being multiplied by a value of 1.04, let's say, or 0.99. But it still didn't give me enough information because I didn't know what the economy price per liter factor of 2.0 was based on. But it at least let me know how prices fluctuated throughout the year, and all I had to do was figure out what that basic economy price was. So I decided to go digging into the actual game XML files instead of just a mod XML. I figured the mod XML would be the easiest one because there's not a whole bunch of directories you have to go digging through. But I dug up the fill types XML for the game file after searching for a little bit. It took me a bit because it's buried deep in the game. When I got there, I was greeted by a good old friend, Wheat. And it pretty much, again, does the same thing. But the economy price per liter for wheat is 0.337. Now remember, this is not factoring in the game will then factor in the difficulty mode to reduce that amount appropriately, on top of the values for seasonal fluctuations. So 0.337 really didn't tell me anything, because if I look at this chart, nothing is really matching up. Oh boy, time to do some more digging. Soybeans, not much luck there either. The economy price per liter was 0.77. Maize or corn was 0.308. So I'm looking for something with 1.0 as a economy price per liter. And I'm not having much luck finding it. So I kept browsing. And I was like, okay, solid fertilizer. Maybe that provides the answer for the base price for a game. 1,000 liters divided by 1820. Nah, that still wasn't quite the right amount because it didn't divide nicely. Though I did find out air actually has a price per liter and it's 0.00. So air is free. Good to know. Still more digging. But I'm getting close. So, brain back to the grindstone. Liquid fertilizer didn't provide an answer because obviously 2,000 liters, $3,200. Top liquid fertilizer, $9,600 for 6,000 liters. The ratios just didn't match up. I was desperately trying to find something where it would give me a nice number that was divisible. And then I happened to stumble upon herbicide. Herbicide to the rescue. 2,000 liters for $2,400. Let's check herbicide. Herbicide has, where is it here? An economy price per liter of 1.2. So 2,000 times 1.2 equals 2,400. Boom. There's the answer. The base game price is $1 per liter. And then the other multipliers factor in. Make sense? Let's try that with diesel. My John Deere 6120M has a very nice fuel tank of 175 liters. So let's fill this up first, just to make sure we're doing the math correctly. So it's completely full right now. Diesel has a price per liter, and I'll show you in the chart. Sorry, I meant to say economy price per liter of 1.25 or 125. So, therefore, and this is what kept catching me up. I kept thinking we were talking about 1,000 liters like we are when we go to sell at the grain store or the co-op or wherever we're selling. So let's empty, and I finally got this working too. So let's set our diesel level to 75 liters for the John Deere. So you can see our tank is down, and let's refuel. $124, let's call it $125 because they probably rounded down, but sure enough that ties in. So the base game price per liter for everything is $1. Let's look one more. Let's look at what has a fixed cost. We won't look at, give me 1 second. To keep things brief, I looked at lime, and 17, I did the math. It worked out to the same economy price per liter based on the discount that the lime station was providing. Okay. So that just confirmed for you everything. The base game economy price per liter is $1. Let's go back to wheat for a second. Economy price for wheat is 0.337. The highest value it is 1.21. You do the math and you get what the game is going to pay you for wheat. So just using base gain values, nothing else, wheat is going to pay us $407.77 per 1,000 liters. Round that up to 408, and that kind of ties in with the hard difficulty. Factor in the economic difficulty level, the bonus price you get for playing on easy mode, for example, and that makes a lot more sense as to where wheat prices go. Okay, so here's the conclusion, and give me a second to park this tractor. But so the game pays you a base price pretty much for everything, and once I'd figured it out, it made more sense. Pretty much everything is worth $1 a liter. You then do your math from there. Back to our good friend herbicide. 1.2 times 1,000 per 1,000 liters will give you $1,200. Times 2 for 2,000 liters gives you $2,400. Now, there are no factors that affect herbicide. Much like liquid fertilizer, these are inelastic products, so they're going to cost you the same no matter what the product difficulty or the game difficulty level is. You could very easily, if you were so inclined to edit the herbicide XML or the fill types XML, you could very easily add in, for bulk herbicide that is sold through the where is it, the multi-fruit buying station. Herbicide, is it even listed here? Yes, it is. You could very easily put in a seasonal fluctuation chart. You could either use one that's already in the game, or you could come up with your own, varying anywhere from, let's say, 0.8 in the winter when herbicide is in least demand, all the way up to, say, 1.2, 1.3 when herbicide is in its greatest demand in the spring. And then you would have seasonal fluctuations for herbicide. Ignore digestate, that's probably a bad example, but that's why, because of the multi-fruit buying station, lime has seasonal fluctuations. Now, selling stations also have a set of factors, again, based on each month. For the 12 months of the year, which go up and down, and I'm just going to use the example again, anywhere from, let's say, 0.8 to 1.2 or 1.4. So you factor in the fill type factor period, and then you factor in the selling station, i.e. the grocery stores, seasonal fluctuation or factor period, and it explains why there is such a variety in fluctuations. For the selling stations, we will go into that in the next video. because there's quite a bit of variety as well. So stay tuned for part 2. And then everything ties in together and you'll understand why you could have, while December is supposed to be the best price for wheat, depending on what your selling station does, it can totally mess that average price up, or the price fluctuations chart. And like I said, I'll go into that in the next video because it's a little bit more complicated. So remember, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Subscribing doesn't cost anything, and it really does help the channel out. And finally, I'm going to do something I've forgotten to do in the last couple of videos, and that's give you a terrible farm joke. Are you ready? So, Farmer Giles was so interested in conserving energy and precision farming that he built a pig-powered car. Sadly, however, he had to get rid of it. Why? Because every time he turned the corner, the tires squealed. Take care and thanks for watching. Jay.